Imagine you're going through your spare change, maybe grabbing a quick coffee, and you find something that's not just a penny, but a gold mine. I'm talking about the 2006 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny that could potentially be worth a staggering $1.6 million. Yes, you heard that right, a penny. And I know what you're thinking. Is this guy pulling my leg? But stick with me, because I'm about to drop some knowledge that could have you checking your pockets a little more closely from now on. So, what's the deal with this 2006 D Lincoln penny, and why could it be worth so much? Well, let's dive into the details. All right, first things first, the 2006 D Lincoln penny is a part of the U.S. Mint series that features Abraham Lincoln on the front. You know the one, Lincoln's face, coppery color, and the 1 cent, stamped on the back. But what makes this particular penny stand out from the rest? The answer lies in a very special error. A mistake so rare that it has collectors jumping through hoops and, believe it or not, willing to pay an absurd amount of cash to get their hands on it. So here's the scoop. During 2006, some pennies were accidentally struck with the wrong kind of die, leaving them with some pretty wild imperfections. These are what we call error coins in the world of numismatics, and let me tell you, error coins are like the unicorns of the coin world, rare, elusive, and worth a lot more than their face value. Now, not every 2060 penny is a gold mine, far from it. Most of them are worth only a couple of cents. But if you happen to have one of those special error coins, you're looking at a serious payday. Now, how do you identify this coin? It's not like there's a giant flashing sign that says, "Hey, I'm worth $1 million." No, it's more subtle. Some of the rare 2060 pennies have a double die, meaning the design on one side, usually the front, is duplicated. If you inspect it closely under a magnifying glass, you might notice the double lines, especially around Lincoln's nose or the date. This doubling is what makes the coin so special. It's like a tiny, accidental masterpiece that was created by the mint's own little slip-up. If you find one of these error pennies, you're not just holding onto any old copper coin. You could be holding onto a treasure. In fact, there's one documented case of a 2006 D double die penny selling for a jaw-dropping $1.6 million at auction. Yes, million with an M. Now, I know what you're thinking. Do I really have one of these coins? And while I can't guarantee you're about to become a millionaire by checking your change, it's definitely worth taking a closer look at any 2006 pennies you come across. Now, let's get into a quick, relatable story about how this all became a personal thing for me. A while back, I was sorting through a pile of old coins I'd inherited from my grandfather. At first, it was just a bunch of pennies, nickels, and dimes, nothing spectacular. But then, I found a 2006 D penny that looked a little different. I mean, it didn't exactly look special, but there was something about it that caught my eye. I wasn't sure if it was an error coin or just one of those weirdly worn-out pennies, so I did some research. After staring at it for hours and almost giving up, I realized, hey, this thing's got the doubling. I rushed to an appraiser, and while it wasn't worth $1.6 million, it was still worth more than my morning cup of coffee. Moral of the story? Always check your change. You never know when you'll stumble upon something that could pay off big. Not every 2006 D penny is a gold mine, but it could be. If you find one with that double die error, you could have a treasure worth thousands, if not millions. Whether you're a seasoned coin collector or just someone who happens to have a jar of loose change lying around, it's always worth checking. And hey, if you want to learn more about rare coins, valuable errors, and ways to make your pocket change actually worth something, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I've got plenty more tips and tricks up my sleeve to help you navigate the wild world of coin collecting, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. Plus, if you find a rare coin, you'll have me to thank for it later. Catch you in the next one, and remember, keep an eye on that change. You never know when you'll find your next big score. Do you ever find yourself looking at a penny and thinking, is this little thing worth anything? Well, buckle up, because today, we're talking about a coin that's definitely worth more than just a cent. In fact, we're diving into the story of a 1987 Lincoln penny with no mint mark that could be sitting in your pocket right now, waiting to make you a small fortune. Yup, we're talking about a penny that could be worth up to $1.70 million. Now, I know what you're thinking. A penny? That's a long shot. Well, don't click away just yet because this is a good one. If you're lucky enough to find this elusive coin, it could change the way you look at your spare change forever. The 1987 penny. If you've ever checked out the back of a penny, you know that it usually has the mint mark, a little letter indicating where it was made, either in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. But here's the thing. Some 1987 pennies don't have a mint mark. That's right, no letter at all. And that's where the magic happens. You see, most pennies made in 1987 came from the Denver Mint and have a small D right there on the back. So when you spot one without a mint mark, it's a bit of an oddball. People don't see them often, and that makes them rare, and rare things are valuable. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, but, a needle worth millions. The market for these no-mint mark pennies has been absolutely wild. They started popping up in the early 2000s, and coin experts quickly realized there was something special about them. Some are worth a few $100s, while others, like the famous one that went for $1.7 million at auction, are worth so much more. How did that happen? Well, it turns out that this mistake in minting makes the coin incredibly unique, so much so that it's been known to fetch a crazy high price. But hold on, before you rush to check every penny in your change jar, let me give you a heads up. Finding one of these is like hitting the lottery. The ones worth millions are extremely rare, and there's a lot of fakes out there too, so it's important to know what you're looking for. If you come across a 1987 penny without a mint mark, make sure you get it checked out by a professional. It's better to be safe than sorry, right? Now, I know you're probably wondering, why on earth does a penny with no mint mark become so valuable? It's all about rarity. Coins are usually mass-produced, but a mint error like this creates something one of a kind. Collectors love these anomalies because it's a story. They're not just buying a coin. They're buying a piece of history, a mistake that became incredibly valuable. It's kind of like finding an old comic book with a printing error that makes it more valuable than the first edition. People love that stuff. A few years ago, I found a bunch of old coins in a dusty box at my grandparents' house. I thought they were all junk, just some old pennies, nickels, and dimes that had probably been sitting in there for decades. But as I was going through them, I stumbled upon a 1970-something penny that seemed a little off. It didn't have the right shine, and something about the edge felt weird. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I knew I should get it checked. Turns out, it was a rare version of a coin with an unusual error. It wasn't worth millions, but it was worth a couple $100. Moral of the story? Never underestimate the potential value of an old coin sitting in your drawer. Who knows, you could have a little treasure waiting to be found, so the next time you reach into your pocket or dig through that jar of loose change, remember to keep an eye out for that 1987 penny with no mint mark. It might just be your ticket to a life-changing sum of money. Of course, the odds are slim, but who doesn't love a good treasure hunt? If you've learned something new today, or if you're just feeling lucky, go ahead and subscribe to my channel for more tips on coins worth money, rare finds, and maybe even more coin stories. I'll be back with more secrets from the world of coin collecting. I've got a question for you. Do you have any pennies lying around? I'm not talking about those worn out ones you find stuck in the couch cushions. No, I'm talking about a real gem from 2003 that could be worth, get this, $1.8 million. Sounds crazy, right? Well, it's true. Stick around because by the end of this video, you might just be searching through your penny jar with a whole new level of excitement. Alright, let's get into it. You're probably thinking, what's so special about a 2003 penny? Well, if you have one with no mint mark, you could be sitting on a small fortune. But before you start pulling pennies out of every drawer, let me break it down for you. So, back in 2003, most of the pennies made in the US had a mint mark, either the D for Denver or the P for Philadelphia. But, and here's where it gets interesting, a very small number of pennies were made without a mint mark, and that's where the magic happens. Why no mint mark? Well, it wasn't supposed to happen. There was an error at the US Mint where a batch of pennies slipped through the cracks without getting stamped with their mint mark. You know, like when you forget to put a stamp on a letter and it just gets stuck in the system. Except, in this case, that mistake made it onto a penny, and now it's worth $1.8 million if you find the right buyer. You might be asking, how do I know if my penny is the one? Good question. It's a 2003 Lincoln penny, and it has to be in mint condition to fetch that kind of price. We're talking about a coin that hasn't been in circulation for years, one that's basically as fresh as the day it was made. If your penny looks like it's been through a few laundromats and has more scratches than a vinyl record in a toddler's hands, don't expect to hit the jackpot. But hey, even if your penny is a little scuffed, it could still be worth more than the face value. The market is constantly changing, and sometimes, even the most regular coins can fetch surprising amounts. Some people have sold these error pennies for thousands of dollars. It's not always 1.8 million, but it's definitely worth checking out. I have a ton of pennies, but I'm not sure where to start. Don't worry, you're not alone. I've been there. A few years ago, I was at a garage sale and came across a jar of loose change. I bought it for a couple of bucks, mostly for fun. I mean, who doesn't love a good treasure hunt, right? After going through the coins, I found a 1943 steel penny. Nothing crazy, but it was worth way more than I'd paid for the whole jar. It wasn't 1.8 million, but it made me think twice about what I had in my pocket change. This brings me to an important point. Always take a second look at your coins. Whether it's a penny, a nickel, or even a quarter, you never know what could be hiding in your collection. That 2003 no mint mark penny? It's just the tip of the iceberg. So, what's the takeaway from today's episode? If you find a 2003 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, get it checked out. It could be worth millions, but even if it's not, don't underestimate the value of your everyday change. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, there's always something new to discover. Before you go diving into your coin collection, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll be back with more tips on coins, currency, and strategies to help you spot valuable pieces. And who knows, next time you might be holding the next big money maker. How many of you have ever found a coin in your pocket or under your couch cushions and thought, could this be worth something? Well, buckle up, because today I'm about to blow your mind with a story about a coin that could make you rich if you just happen to have one lying around. The 1978 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. You heard that right. Pennies, that shiny copper, or is it zinc? Little guy we all toss around, can sometimes be worth a whole lot more than just 1 cent. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you might just start looking at your spare change a little differently. So, first things first. The 1978 D Mint Mark penny. You're probably wondering, what's so special about this little guy? After all, pennies are everywhere, right? You probably even toss them into a jar somewhere. But hold up, this particular penny, if it's got that mint mark D on it, can be worth a shocking $1.9 million. Yeah, you heard me. Million. It's not a typo. Now, how in the world did a humble penny become worth millions? Well, that's what we're about to dive into. Let's start with a little history lesson. The 1978 D penny was minted in Denver, which is where that D mint mark comes from. Some of these pennies were accidentally struck with a rare die, making them a bit different from your average 1978 pennies. It's like hitting the jackpot at a casino, but instead of a bunch of coins falling from the sky, it's one little penny that could make you a millionaire. The special thing about this penny is that it has a double die error, meaning the design on the penny is slightly off-center. So, when you look closely, you might notice that the details of Abraham Lincoln's face, the date, and the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" are a little blurry, or even double-stamped. It's like a printing mistake, but one that makes the penny super valuable. But here's the kicker. Not all 1978 D pennies are worth a fortune. In fact, most of them are worth only 1 cent. The ones that are worth big bucks are the rare, error-struck ones. So, how do you know if you've got one? Well, it all comes down to inspecting the coin carefully. Grab a magnifying glass, or even your phone's camera if you're feeling fancy, and look closely at Lincoln's face. If it looks a little blurry, a little off-center, or even double-printed, you might just have one of the rarest pennies out there. I know. This sounds like a lot of work just to check a penny. A lot of people would have thrown that penny away without a second thought. You know the type. Those who scoff at the idea of keeping pennies in a jar because they think they're worthless. But that's where you could score big. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years back, I was at a garage sale because, yes, I'm that person who loves a good bargain hunt, when I came across an old box of coins. It was just sitting there, gathering dust, marked with a free sign. Now, I'm not saying I'm a coin expert, but I've learned a thing or two from this channel. So I dug through the box and found a handful of pennies, some looking older than others. As I was going through them, I spotted a 1978 penny with a D mint mark. Now, I didn't think it was the $1 million kind, but I thought, hey, this could be worth something. I held on to it, did some research, and wouldn't you know it? It turned out to be a regular old penny worth, well, about a penny. But that's the thing about coins. You never know when you're going to find something special. And with the 1978 D penny, it could literally change your life. But remember, just because it has that mint mark doesn't mean it's going to be worth millions. You need to check for those errors and make sure it's in good condition too. The better the condition, the higher the value. So, what can we learn from all this? First off, don't go throwing your pennies away. It's crazy to think that something so small could be worth so much. But hey, that's the beauty of coin collecting. It's a treasure hunt, and you never know when you might strike gold. Or in this case, strike copper. If you've got a 1978 D penny sitting around, don't just toss it into a jar or forget about it. Take a closer look and check for any errors. Who knows, you might just find the coin that changes your financial future. And if you want more tips on finding coins that are actually worth more than a few cents, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on more money-making tips that could be hiding right under your nose. If you've ever dug around your change jar or sifted through a pile of pennies, you've probably come across a few strange or rare coins. But did you know that a 2014 penny could be worth $2 million? Yes, you heard that right. A coin that's practically as common as dirt could be worth a fortune, and I'm about to tell you exactly why. Stick with me because this might just be the coin you've been looking for. Now, before you go running to your couch cushions to search for that elusive penny, let me set the stage. The 2014 Abraham Lincoln penny is part of the regular U.S. mint production, right? But there's a twist. You see, every year, the U.S. Mint releases millions of pennies, and most of them are, well, pretty standard. The thing is, in 2014, there was a super rare mistake. A penny that didn't have a mint mark. If you're not familiar, every coin made in the U.S. typically has a little mint mark that tells you where it was made. But this particular penny was missing that mint mark. And guess what? That tiny little error could make it worth millions. But let's back up a bit and talk about how this happened. The U.S. Mint accidentally left out the mint mark on a few 2014 pennies. Normally, the mint mark is stamped on the coin to show whether it was made in Philadelphia or Denver. But this one, no mint mark at all. For years, we've been seeing coins from all sorts of places, but the ones without mint marks were, let's just say, a bit of a rarity. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could something as small as a missing mint mark make such a big difference in value? And that, my friend, is where the magic happens. Rare coins like this one are highly sought after by collectors, especially when they're the result of an error. Imagine owning a coin that was supposed to be part of a sea of pennies, but instead, it turned into something no one expected. That mistake, my friends, is where the value lies. To give you some perspective, just last year, a 2014 no mint mark penny was sold at auction for a whopping $2 million. Can you believe that? I mean, who knew a coin worth 1 cent could turn into a multi-million-dollar jackpot? Now, before you get too excited and think you're going to strike it rich, let's be real. Not every 2014 penny without a mint mark is worth millions. The condition of the coin matters too. A mint condition penny will fetch a lot more than one that's been run over by a car or spent decades under your couch cushions. So, if you find one, it's time to take a closer look and maybe even get it appraised by a professional. So, how do you know if you've got one of these rare coins? Well, the first thing you want to check for is the mint mark, or the lack of it. If your 2014 penny has no mint mark, you're already in the right territory. The next step is to inspect the coin for any damage, wear, or signs of circulation. The better the condition, the higher the value. Now, I know what you're thinking. How likely is it that you have one of these million-dollar pennies sitting in your drawer right now? Well, honestly, it's a long shot. But hey, stranger things have happened. For example, a friend of mine once found a rare 1955 double-die penny in his grandmother's old coin jar. He didn't even know what he had until he took it to a dealer, and it ended up being worth thousands of dollars. Moral of the story? Always check your change. You never know when a hidden treasure might turn up. That 2014 penny with no mint mark could be worth a small fortune, up to $2 million. To to be exact. But if you're lucky enough to find one, make sure to hold on to it tight, get it appraised, and treat it like the treasure it could be. And if you're sitting there now thinking, well, that's all great, but I need more tips on how to spot rare coins, don't worry. I've got you covered. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because I've got tons more coin hunting strategies, hidden gems, and tips coming your way. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, keep those eyes peeled for rare coins. They might just be worth more than you think. You're rummaging through an old box of pennies, maybe while cleaning out the attic or sorting through that jar of loose change you've been meaning to get rid of for years. Suddenly, your heart skips a beat. You find a 1986 penny. You look at it closely, and for a moment, you think, is this it? Could this be the one worth a fortune? Well, folks, guess what? It could be. But not just any 1986 penny. It's the elusive 1986 penny with no mint mark. And yes, this little copper nugget is worth over $2 million in the current market. Yep, you heard that right, $2 million for a penny. Makes you want to dig through that change jar, right? Now, let's slow down a bit, because I know what you're thinking. Hold up, a penny worth $2.1 million? That's insane. There must be a catch. And you're right to be skeptical. But here's the deal. This isn't some magic trick or get-rich-quick scheme. It's all about rarity, condition, and the story behind this coin. Let's break it down a bit. So, in 1986, most pennies were minted with a small D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. But a tiny handful, and I mean a very tiny handful, were struck without any mint mark at all. This means that this particular penny wasn't stamped with a mint identifier, which makes it super rare. Rarity equals value in the coin world, and when you mix in the right condition, you've got a real treasure. You might be wondering, why no mint mark? Well, there's still a bit of mystery surrounding this. Some believe it was a minting error, some think it could have been an intentional omission, but either way, only a few of these 1986 no mint mark pennies exist. And as you can guess, the fewer there are, the more valuable they become. Let me share a little personal story with you. A while ago, I was digging through some old pennies my grandfather had given me. I wasn't expecting much, just some coins to toss into my so what pile, you know? But, to my surprise, I found a 1982 penny that looked a little different. It was in great shape, and for a second, I thought, maybe this one could be worth something. Turns out, it wasn't the exact kind I was hoping for, but the excitement I felt when I found that coin is something I'll never forget. That feeling of stumbling upon something rare and valuable is just incredible, and that's exactly why you should pay attention to pennies like the 1986 no mint mark. Now, let's talk value for a second. I know $2.1 million sounds like a crazy number for a coin that's just the size of a dime, but that's the beauty of coin collecting. It's all about the condition, the rarity, and who wants it. A 1986 no mint mark penny in pristine condition, with no wear and tear, has recently been valued at over $2 million in auctions. That's the kind of money that could change your life. But, and this is important, these coins don't just pop up every day. If you find one, make sure to get it professionally appraised before you start thinking about how you're going to spend that newfound fortune. But before you run off to search through every penny in your possession, remember that just because you've got a 1986 penny, it doesn't mean it's worth millions. The mint mark is the key here. If there's a D or S on that coin, it's not the one we're talking about. And let's be real, most pennies won't fetch much. But hey, you never know. If you happen to come across a 1986 penny with no mint mark, you might just have yourself a ticket to the Coin Collectors Hall of Fame. But even if you don't, keep an eye out for other rare and valuable coins. You might just find the next big thing while cleaning out that drawer of change. Before I let you go, do me a favor. If you're into coins, if you love learning about valuable treasures, or if you just want to get the inside scoop on the next big find, hit that subscribe button. I've got more tips, tricks, and coin strategies coming your way. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on what's hiding in your pocket change. Who knows, your next big find could be just a penny away. Have you ever wondered if that old penny you found in your couch cushions could be worth a small fortune? Well, get ready to get excited because today we're talking about a penny that could make you seriously rich. The 1997 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Yes, you heard that right, a penny. This little guy could be worth up to $2.2 million. Now, I know you're thinking, no way, it's just a penny. But trust me, it's not just any penny. Stick around, because this penny has a story that's just waiting to put your coin collection on the map. Alright, let's break this down. First of all, most of us think of pennies as those things we toss into a jar to collect dust, right? You probably have a few rolling around in your change drawer, and you're just waiting for them to get enough value to pay for a cup of coffee. But what if I told you that one of those pennies could be worth more than your car? Yep, it's true. So, what's so special about this 1997 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny? Well, to start, it's not the penny itself that makes it so valuable. It's all about a super rare mistake that happened during the minting process. You see, some of these 1997 pennies were struck on a wrong planchet, which means they were made on a piece of metal that wasn't supposed to be used for pennies at all. These pennies, which should have been made from the regular copper-plated zinc, instead have this crazy off-metal composition, making them super rare and highly desirable to collectors. And here's the kicker. There are only a handful of these rare pennies out there, and they're fetching some serious cash at auctions. We're talking about a 1997 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny that sold for an eye-popping $2.2 million. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't mind finding one of those in my pocket change. But before you go running to your nearest coin store and start tossing your pennies in the air like you just hit the jackpot, remember, it's not every 1997 penny that's worth millions. You need to look out for a few key details if you think you've got a winner. First, make sure it's the 1997 D Mint mark. The D stands for the Denver Mint, where the coin was produced. And next, check if it has the off-metal error. That's going to be the real prize. Now, I know what you're thinking. How in the world do I know if I've got one of these rare pennies? Well, here's a tip. If you have a magnifying glass, or even just a good pair of glasses, take a close look at the color and weight of the penny. A genuine off-metal penny will look a little different than your usual copper-colored pennies, and it will likely feel heavier. If you suspect it could be valuable, it's worth getting it professionally appraised. Okay, quick personal story for you. A few years ago, I was going through some old change I had stashed away in a drawer. I found a 1997 penny, and I thought, hey, maybe it's worth something. But I just tossed it aside, thinking it was no big deal. I didn't check it closely, and guess what? It wasn't $1 million penny, but I've learned my lesson. Now, I always double-check my coins before I let them slip through my fingers. So take it from me, never underestimate the power of a penny. Now, let's talk about how you can take advantage of this. If you think you found a 1997 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny or any other potentially rare coin, it's time to start doing your research. Check out online coin forums, consult experts, or even take your coin to a professional numismatist, fancy word for a coin expert. You never know. You might have just found your ticket to the big time. Alright, folks, I hope this video has opened your eyes to the fact that sometimes rare treasures are hiding in plain sight. Like that old penny you've got tucked away in your wallet. The 1997 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny could be worth a fortune if you've got the right one. But only by knowing what to look for will you be able to spot a true gem. If you enjoyed learning about this rare coin and want more tips on finding coins worth money, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll be dropping more videos with strategies to help you build a collection that could one day make you a millionaire. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on that. And hey, if you find a 1997 D Mint Mark penny that's worth millions, don't forget who helped you spot it. Let me know in the comments if you've got any rare coins hiding in your collection. You're flipping through a jar of pennies, looking for that one elusive coin that could change your life forever. And boom, you find a 1973 D Lincoln penny. But wait, did you know that penny might just be worth more than your car? No, seriously. Some 1973 D pennies have sold for an insane $2.3 million. Sounds too good to be true? Well, buckle up because today, we're diving into this crazy story and uncovering the truth about what makes this penny so valuable. And trust me, by the end, you'll be checking your change like you're looking for buried treasure. So, let's get into it. Alright, first off, let's talk about what makes a penny worth more than a couple of cents. Normally, we think of pennies as just, well, pennies. You toss them in your pocket or let them collect dust in a jar. But every once in a while, a coin comes along that's a little more special. So, what's the deal with the 1973 D penny? The D on the coin means it was minted in Denver. Normally, this penny's value is, 1 cent. But there's a rare version out there that's caught the eyes of collectors and, get this, sold for a whopping $2.3 million at auction. How did this happen? Well, it all comes down to one little thing: a minting error. You see, in some very rare cases, a small mistake happens at the mint. This can create a coin that's off-center, has double stamping, or in some cases, was even struck on the wrong type of planchet. That's the metal disc the coin is made of. For the 1973 D penny, the error involves a particular misalignment that makes the coin incredibly rare and valuable. It's like when you're baking cookies and one accidentally comes out perfect, but only because the dough didn't mix right. That cookie is worth keeping, right? How do I know if I've got one of these million-dollar pennies? Great question. There are a couple of things to look out for. First, you'll want to check the condition of the coin. The 1973 D penny with the error is often in mint condition. This is crucial because a coin with wear and tear is much less likely to fetch a high price. If it's got that rare minting error and is in excellent shape, then you might be holding on to something special. Now, let's talk about the auction story behind the $2.3 million sale. It wasn't just any penny. It was the penny. The buyer who snagged this rare find is someone who knows their stuff. And the coin sale was a huge deal in the numismatic world, fancy way of saying coin collecting. A coin that was once worth 1 cent became the talk of the town after that auction. Now, every collector and their dog is on the hunt for that same error, hoping for the same incredible payday. But remember, finding one is like finding a needle in a haystack. Not every 1973 D penny will get you rich. Here's a quick personal story to lighten things up. I remember the time I was searching through my old coin jar, hoping to find something cool. All I found was a bunch of corroded pennies and a 1980s dime that looked like it had been through a war zone. But hey, I wasn't discouraged. Sometimes, it's all about patience and a little luck. One of these days, maybe I'll find my million-dollar coin. Or maybe I'll just keep finding pennies for the time being. Who knows? But seriously, there's something magical about going through old change. Whether it's coins from your childhood or a random penny you find on the sidewalk, there's always a chance it could be worth a lot more than its face value. And that's what makes coin collecting so fun. So, what's the bottom line? The 1973 D Lincoln penny is an amazing example of how a simple error can turn an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. But don't get too excited just yet. Only a tiny fraction of these pennies are worth anything close to that $2.3 million. But hey, that doesn't mean your pennies are worthless. Start checking your change, and who knows? You could be holding on to a future treasure. If you're loving these coin tips and want to learn more about rare coins, their values, and strategies for finding them, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty of tips and tricks up my sleeve to help you turn your pocket change into some serious cash. Plus, I'll keep sharing stories like mine so you can laugh, learn, and hopefully find a few treasures along the way. You ever looked at a penny and thought, this is just a penny, nothing special? Well, buckle up, because you might be staring at a small fortune and not even know it. Today, we're talking about the 2002 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. And this little guy might just be worth more than your entire piggy bank. Yup, you heard me right. Some of these pennies are worth a jaw-dropping $2.4 million. Stick with me because I'm going to tell you why, and maybe you'll check your spare change a little differently after today. Alright, let's get into it. First, let's talk about this special penny, the 2002 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Now, before you go running to your change jar, let's clarify something. Not every 2002 D penny is worth millions. There's a lot more to it than that. But when you get the right one, and I mean the right one, you could be holding on to a piece of history worth way more than its face value. So, what makes the 2002 D penny so special? Well, to understand that, we need to take a quick trip down memory lane. Back in 2002, the US Mint produced millions of these pennies, so they were pretty common at the time. However, there's one key thing that could turn your ordinary penny into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Errors. Yep, you heard that right. Like many things in life, sometimes mistakes are the ones that make the big bucks. The $2.4 million penny you might have heard about is one of those rare, error-filled coins. These particular pennies have a very unique, noticeable flaw, the close AM variety. If you take a close look, you'll see that the A and M in the word America are very close together. This wasn't supposed to happen. The US Mint made an error and accidentally struck these pennies with a different die, resulting in the close spacing of those letters. But don't get too excited just yet. These error coins are extremely rare. In fact, only a handful of these close AM pennies have been discovered. So, unless you're lucky enough to find one hiding in your pocket change or your grandmother's old coin jar, you might not have that $2.4 million coin on your hands. But hey, it's still a fun thought, right? Okay, how do I find out if I have one of these super rare pennies? Good question. First, you want to make sure the penny is from the 2002 D Mint. Look for the D Mint mark on the front of the coin, just under Abraham Lincoln's famous face. That's where it all starts. Next, check for that close AM error. Take a good look at the AM in America on the back of the penny. If the letters are close together, like too close for comfort, congratulations, you might have something special. Of course, the penny's condition matters too. If it's all scratched up, bent, or tarnished, it's not going to fetch anywhere near the $2.4 million price tag. But if you happen to find one in excellent condition, you could be looking at a valuable coin. And listen, I know it's easy to get excited when you find a penny that looks a little different. I've been there. I once found a coin that I thought was going to make me a millionaire, only to discover it was just a really, really dirty penny. But hey, that doesn't mean the hunt isn't worth it. There are plenty of other coins out there that could be worth big bucks, so it's always good to keep an eye out. The 2002 D Mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny could be worth a small fortune if it's one of those rare, error-filled close AM pennies. While finding one of these is about as likely as winning the lottery, it's still a fun reminder that your spare change might not be as boring as you think. And who knows, maybe you've got a hidden treasure just waiting to be discovered. If you're serious about finding coins that are worth more than face value, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty more tips, strategies, and insider info coming your way to help you find coins that are worth big bucks. Don't miss out on any of it.